For 12 years, Darius Cole believed he had built a solid marriage, one held together by loyalty, sacrifice, and the quiet dreams he and his wife, Ariana, once shared when they had nothing. But the morning she became CEO of Apex Industries, everything changed. Her voice grew colder. Her eyes stopped meeting his, and the woman who used to rush home to tell him everything now treated him like a stranger passing through her hallway. At first, Darius blamed stress. Long meetings, heavy decisions, the weight of being the first black woman to lead the company. But days turned into weeks, and Ariana kept slipping further away, coming home late, guarding her phone, avoiding touch, avoiding conversation, avoiding him. Then one evening, she walked in, placed a stack of legal papers on the dining table, and quietly whispered the words that cracked his entire world open. "I'm filing for divorce." No argument, no explanation, no emotion. But what Ariana didn't know, what she never imagined, was that Darius held a truth powerful enough to destroy everything she believed she controlled. And once that truth came out, the entire city would talk. Before we go deeper, tell us where you're watching from, and subscribe now so you don't miss a story like this again. The Grand Meridian Ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and champagne glasses. Executives in tailored suits mingled beneath gold-draped ceilings, their laughter echoing off marble floors. At the center of it all stood Ariana Cole, radiant in a crimson dress that commanded every eye in the room. To our new CEO, Chairman Richard Thornton raised his glass. May Ariana Cole lead Apex Industries into a new era of prosperity. The crowd erupted in applause. Ariana smiled, her shoulders back, chin high. She looked like she belonged there, like she'd been waiting her entire life for this moment. Darius Cole watched from a table near the back. He clapped along with everyone else, but something felt off. His wife hadn't looked at him once during her acceptance speech. Not once. "Thank you all," Ariana said, her voice smooth and confident. "This company has incredible potential. Under my leadership, we'll reach heights no one thought possible. I won't let anything or anyone hold us back." The words landed strangely in Darius's chest. Was that aimed at him? No. He was reading too much into it. This was her night. She was just excited. After the speeches ended, Darius made his way through the crowd toward her. She was surrounded by board members and senior executives, all eager to congratulate her. He waited patiently at the edge of the circle. "Darius," one of the executives called out, "your wife is going to take this company to the moon." Darius smiled. "I have no doubt." Ariana finally turned to him. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Darius, you're still here." "Of course. I wanted to congratulate you properly." She glanced at her watch, a new Cartier she'd bought last week. "I have to network. We'll talk at home, Ariana." But she'd already turned away, laughing at something the CFO said. Darius drove home alone. Their house sat on a quiet street, lined with oak trees, a modest two-story they'd bought together 5 years ago. He'd always loved coming home to her. Tonight, the house felt empty even before he walked inside. He waited in the living room, a book open on his lap that he wasn't really reading. The clock ticked past 11, then midnight. Finally, at 12:40, he heard her car in the driveway. Ariana walked in, kicked off her heels, and headed straight for the stairs. "Hey," Darius said softly. "Want to talk about tonight? I'm really proud of you." She paused on the third step, her back to him. "I'm exhausted." "Darius, can we do this another time?" "Do what?" "I just wanted to. My life is about to change." She turned, and the look in her eyes was one he'd never seen before. Cold, distant, and I won't let anything hold me back. Before he could respond, she continued up the stairs. A minute later, he heard the guest room door close. Darius sat in the darkness, the book forgotten in his hands. His wife had just become CEO of a billion-dollar company. So, why did he feel like he'd just lost her? If you can feel Darius' tension, give this story a like. The next 2 weeks felt like living with a stranger. Ariana left for work before dawn, and came home after dark. When Darius tried to have dinner with her, she ate standing up at the kitchen counter, scrolling through emails on her phone. Their conversations became transactional. "Did you pick up my dry cleaning? It's in the closet. The accountant called about our taxes. I'll handle it." "No. Thank you." "No." "How was your day?" "Nothing." Darius worked from home as a consultant, managing projects for various tech startups. It was flexible work that had allowed him to support Ariana's career over the years. He'd never minded being the one who adjusted his schedule, who made dinner, who kept their life running smoothly. But now, that support felt invisible. One evening, he made her favorite meal, garlic butter salmon with roasted vegetables. He set the table, lit candles, even opened a bottle of wine she'd been saving. She walked in at 9:30, glanced at the table, and shook her head. "I already ate. There was a client's dinner. You didn't tell me." "I don't have to report my schedule to you, Darius." She grabbed her laptop bag and headed upstairs. "I have calls tonight." He stood alone in the dining room, looking at the untouched meal. The candles burned down to nothing. The distance grew wider. She started sleeping in the guest room every night. When he asked about it, she said she didn't want to wake him with her early alarms. When he suggested they spend a weekend together, she said she had a board retreat. But it was the phone calls that made him truly suspicious. Darius woke at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. As he passed the guest room, he heard Ariana's voice, low and urgent, through the door. "Just wait. I'm handling it. Trust me, by next month, everything will be different." He pressed closer to the door. "No. He doesn't suspect anything. He's too comfortable, too trusting." She laughed quietly. That's always been his problem. Darius's pulse hammered in his ears. Who was she talking to? "I know what I'm doing," Ariana continued. "Once the paperwork is finalized, I'm free. And yes, I'll make sure I get everything I deserve." The call ended. Darius hurried back to the master bedroom before she could open the door. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. Paperwork? What paperwork? The next morning, he watched her more carefully. She was jumpy, checking her phone constantly. When it buzzed, she glanced at the screen and quickly silenced it. "Everything okay?" Darius asked. "Fine." She poured coffee into a travel mug. "I'll be late again tonight, Ariana. We need to talk." "Not now." She grabbed her briefcase. "I have a board meeting at 8. The door closed behind her. Darius stood in the kitchen, a pit of dread growing in his stomach. That afternoon, while cleaning, he noticed her work bag on the bench by the front door. She'd rushed out so quickly she'd forgotten it. He shouldn't look. He knew he shouldn't, but his hand reached for the zipper anyway. Inside, beneath files and folders, he found a thick manila envelope. The label read, "Confidential, legal documents." Darius pulled it out, his hands shaking. Before he could open it, he heard her car pulling into the driveway. He shoved the envelope back into the bag and stepped away, his heart pounding. Ariana burst through the door. "I forgot my..." She saw him standing near her bag. Her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing?" "Nothing. I was just..." She grabbed the bag and clutched it to her chest. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Guilt? Fear? Then it was gone, replaced by irritation. "Stay out of my things, Darius." She left again, slamming the door behind her. That night, Darius couldn't sleep. Whatever was in that envelope, whatever she was planning, it was coming soon. And he had no idea how to stop it. Darius came home from a client meeting to find Ariana sitting at the dining room table. For the first time in weeks, she was home before sunset. For the first time in weeks, she was waiting for him. The manila envelope sat in front of her. "Sit down," she said. Not a request. A command. He set his laptop bag down and took the chair across from her. His throat was dry. "What's going on?" Ariana slid the envelope across the table. "Open it." His fingers felt numb as he pulled out the papers. The words at the top hit him like a punch. Petition for dissolution of marriage. You're divorcing me. His voice came out flat, distant. Yes. He looked up at her. She was examining her nails, perfectly manicured and painted deep red. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Why? He asked. Because I've outgrown this marriage. Outgrown. He repeated the word slowly, trying to understand it. Ariana, we've been together for 8 years. Married for 6. We built a life together. You built a life. She finally looked at him, and her gaze was ice. I built a career. There's a difference. I supported your career. Every late night, every business trip, every promotion I was there. I was proud of you, and I'm grateful for that. Her tone suggested she was anything but. But I don't need that kind of support anymore. I'm the CEO of a billion-dollar company. Darius. I need a partner who matches that. The words stung more than he expected. And I don't match that. No, you don't. He flipped through the papers. The demands made his stomach turn. She wanted the house, the one they'd bought together with money from both their savings. She wanted half of his retirement accounts. She wanted spousal support. This is everything, he said quietly. You want everything. I want what I deserve. She leaned forward. I'm the one who climbed to the top. I'm the one who made sacrifices. You got to sit at home, work on your little tech projects, play house. Well, congratulations, Darius. The game is over. Little tech projects. He nodded slowly. Is that what you think I do? Isn't it? When was the last time you made real money? When was the last time you made a name for yourself? She stood, grabbing her purse from the back of the chair. Sign the papers. My lawyer will contact you about the details. And if I don't sign? She smiled, not warmly. Then, we do this the hard way. And trust me, you don't want that. I have the best lawyers money can buy now. You'll lose everything anyway. Might as well make it quick. Because you're finally worth more, he said, echoing the words he'd overheard. Her smile widened. Exactly. Because I'm finally worth more. She walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and I'd like you out of the house by the end of the month. I'm having it appraised for the divorce settlement. It'll be easier if you're not here. The door closed softly behind her. Darius sat alone at the table. Divorce papers spread in front of him like a crime scene. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in months. Richard, he said, when the chairman answered. It's Darius Cole. We need to meet. Tomorrow morning, if possible. Of course, Richard Thornton replied. Is everything all right? Not yet. Darius looked at the divorce papers. But it will be. I need to discuss some matters regarding Apex Industries. Matters that concern my ownership stake. There was a pause on the other end. I see. My office at 9? I'll be there. Darius ended the call and sat in the silence of his home. Ariana thought she'd won. She thought she held all the cards. She thought he was weak, comfortable, too trusting. She had no idea who she was dealing with. He pulled the divorce papers toward him and began reading every word carefully. Not to sign them, but to understand exactly what battle she thought she was fighting. Because very soon, she would discover she'd brought a knife to a gunfight. The coffee shop buzzed with Saturday morning energy. Ariana sat in a corner booth, oversized sunglasses hiding her eyes despite being indoors. Across from her, her friend Monica leaned in with barely contained excitement. So, you actually did it? Monica whispered. You served him the papers? Ariana stirred her latte. Wednesday night. And he looked like a kicked puppy. Honestly, it was pathetic. She removed her sunglasses, revealing eyes that sparkled with something close to triumph. He actually asked why. Monica laughed. What did you tell him? The truth. That I've outgrown him. That I need someone on my level now. Ariana, took a sip of her drink. He's been dead weight for years, Monica. Nice enough, sure. Supportive? But completely ordinary. What about the settlement? Is he going to fight you? With what? Ariana leaned back in her seat. He's a freelance consultant who works from home. I'm the CEO of Apex Industries. My lawyers will crush him. I'll get the house, half his retirement, and probably support payments for at least 5 years. How much are we talking? Ariana's smile turned predatory. Conservatively? $2 million in assets, plus the house, which is worth another $1 million to $2 million. And that's before we factor in future support payments. Monica's eyes widened. $3 million? At minimum. My lawyers think we can push for more. Ariana glanced around the coffee shop, then lowered her voice further. And here's the best part. Once the divorce is final, I'm liquidating some of my stock options. We're talking another $15 million. From middle-class nobody to multi-millionaire CEO. And I'm cutting out all the dead weight in the process. Does he know about the stock options? God, no. The man barely understands the company. He's never even asked about board meetings or strategy. He just smiles and nods and makes dinner like a good little housewife. Ariana's lip curled. It's actually sad. Monica hesitated. You don't feel bad at all? You guys were together for 8 years. I feel free. Ariana drained her latte. Those 8 years were an investment in getting where I am now. But I don't need him anymore. Why would I keep paying for something I no longer need? Jesus, Ariana. That's cold. That's business. She checked her phone. Speaking of which, I have moves to make. The board is reviewing a restructuring proposal I submitted. We're cutting several advisory positions. Anyone I know? Darius had some ceremonial role on one of our advisory councils. Something my predecessor set up as a favor, I think. I'm eliminating the whole department. Waste of money. Does Darius know? Not yet. He'll find out Monday when the announcement goes through. Ariana stood, gathering her purse. By the time he realizes what's happening, I'll have already removed every trace of him from my company and my life. What Ariana didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that, at that exact moment, Darius was sitting in Chairman Richard Thornton's private office. On the mahogany desk between them sat a folder marked Confidential. Ownership documents. I'm sorry you're going through this, Darius, Richard said carefully. But I have to ask, does Ariana know? About my father's shares? Darius shook his head. We never talked about it. Early in our relationship, I made a decision to keep my family's business involvement private. I wanted her to love me for me, not for what I inherited. 82% controlling interest in Apex Industries is more than an inheritance. Darius, it's an empire. I know. Darius looked tired, older than his 34 years. My father built this company from nothing. When he died, he left it in trust for me, with you as the executor. I never needed the money. My consulting work kept us comfortable. I wanted a simple life. And now your wife is the CEO of your company, filing for divorce, and trying to push you out of the advisory board. Richard's voice held a note of irony. The advisory board, you personally funded, by the way. She doesn't know that either. Clearly, Richard leaned forward. What do you want to do, Darius? Because from where I'm sitting, Ariana is about to make some very aggressive moves. She submitted a restructuring proposal that would eliminate your position. She's planning a board meeting for Monday to push it through. I know. She told me she'd make this hard if I didn't sign the divorce papers. Darius was quiet for a moment. I loved her, Richard. I still do. But the woman I married wouldn't have done this. The question is, what will you do? Darius stood and walked to the window, overlooking downtown. Somewhere out there, Ariana was celebrating her liberation, planning his erasure from her life, counting money that didn't exist yet. I'll attend the board meeting Monday, he said finally, but not as the advisory council member she's trying to fire. As the principal owner? Yes. Darius turned back to Richard. It's time she learned exactly who she married. Do you think Ariana will succeed? Comment your prediction. The law office of Morrison and Bach occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. Darius rode the elevator to the 42nd floor, watching the city shrink below him. He'd only been here once before, the day after his father's funeral 7 years ago. The receptionist recognized him immediately. "Mr. Cole, Mr. Morrison is expecting you." James Morrison was in his 70s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed behind wire-rimmed glasses. He'd been his father's lawyer for 30 years and the executor of the trust that held Darius's shares in Apex Industries. Darius. Morrison stood and offered his hand. "I was sorry to hear about your troubles, though I can't say I'm surprised you're here. You've heard? Word travels in business circles. Your wife has been quite vocal about her plans for the company." Morrison gestured to a chair. "She's also been making inquiries about your finances. My firm received a subpoena request from her attorneys yesterday." Darius felt a spike of anger. "She's trying to find out what I have. She'll be disappointed. Your assets are well protected in the trust structure your father established. She has no legal claim to the shares." Morrison pulled a thick folder from his desk. "However, that's not why you're here, is it?" "No." Darius took the folder. "I need to know everything. Every share, every clause, every right I have as the majority owner." For the next 2 hours, Morrison walked him through the documents. His father had been meticulous. The trust structure was airtight. Darius owned 82% of Apex Industries through a complex network of holdings. The remaining 18% was split among 3 minority shareholders and the executive stock option pool. "Your father was very specific about the conditions," Morrison explained. "You have full voting rights. You can appoint or remove board members at will. You can override any corporate decision. In effect, Darius, you are Apex Industries. But Ariana is CEO. A CEO serves at the pleasure of the board, which serves at the pleasure of the shareholders. You are the majority shareholder. You could remove her today if you wanted." Darius was quiet, absorbing this. He'd known the basic facts, but hearing it laid out so starkly was different. "My father never wanted me to be a corporate executive. He wanted me to choose my own path. He also wanted to protect what he built." Morrison leaned forward. "Your father included a very specific clause in the trust. If anyone attempts to gain access to or control over the shares through marriage, coercion, or fraud, the trust is empowered to take immediate protective action. Ariana's divorce filing constitutes an attempt to access marital assets that include your stake in the company. Her lawyers are already arguing that your shares should be considered marital property subject to division." Morrison's expression was grave. "This triggers the protective clause." "What does that mean?" "It means we can act immediately to protect the company. We can remove her as CEO. We can restructure the board. We can even press charges if we find evidence of corporate malfeasance." Darius thought about the late-night phone calls, the secretive behavior. There might be more going on than just the divorce. "I had the same thought. I took the liberty of initiating a quiet audit of her activities as CEO." Morrison slid another folder across the desk. "This is preliminary, but concerning." Darius opened it. Inside were phone records, email logs, and financial transactions. His eyes widened as he read. "She's been in contact with Marcus Webb?" Marcus was the COO of Titanium Corp., Apex's biggest competitor. 17 phone calls in the last month, including 3 that lasted over an hour. Morrison tapped the file. "The timing is suspicious. All after she became CEO. She could be poaching him for a role at Apex. Or she could be the one being poached. Or worse, sharing competitive intelligence." Morrison's voice was hard. "We need more evidence before we can make accusations. But the pattern is clear. Your wife isn't just leaving you, Darius. She's potentially betraying your company." Darius felt something shift inside him. The sadness was still there, the grief of a marriage ending. But underneath it, something harder crystallized. "Resolve. Monday's board meeting," he said. "She's planning to restructure. We know. She wants to eliminate several departments, including your advisory council. Let her call the meeting. Let her make her pitch. Darius stood. But I'll be there. Not as the advisory council member she's trying to fire. As the principal owner she doesn't know exists. Are you sure? Morrison asked gently. This will be devastating for her. Publicly humiliating. She's trying to take everything from me. My home, my savings, my dignity. Darius's voice was steady. And potentially selling company secrets to our competitor. I loved her, James, but I won't let her destroy what my father built. Then we'll need to be strategic. Precise. Morrison pulled out a legal pad. Here's what I suggest. They talked until the sun set over the city. By the time Darius left the office, he had a plan. A detailed, methodical plan that would unfold in stages. Phase 1. Gather evidence of her communications with Titanium Corp. Phase 2. Attend the board meeting as the majority shareholder. Phase 3. Present the evidence and remove her as CEO. Phase 4. Handle the divorce on his terms. It was ruthless. It was calculated. It was exactly what his father would have done to protect the company. That night, Darius sat in his home office, the same office where Ariana had told him to move out by month's end. He opened his laptop and began drafting an email to Richard Thornton. Richard, I'll be attending Monday's board meeting. Please ensure all board members are present. I'll be exercising my rights as principal shareholder under Article 7.3 of the corporate charter. What follows will be difficult, but necessary, Darius. He hit send. Then, he pulled up the divorce papers Ariana had served him. He still hadn't signed them. She'd been calling his phone all week, leaving increasingly angry voicemails. This is your last chance to do this the easy way, Darius. Sign the papers or my lawyers will make your life hell. He listened to the most recent one, her voice dripping with contempt. Then, he deleted it. The easy way. She had no idea how hard this was about to get. For both of them, Monday morning arrived with rain drumming against the windows of Apex Industries headquarters. The boardroom on the 50th floor was all glass and steel, with a view of the city that cost more than most people's homes. Ariana arrived 30 minutes early. She arranged her presentation materials, adjusted the lighting, and practiced her opening lines in the mirror of the executive bathroom. Everything had to be perfect. By 9 o'clock, the board members began filing in. 12 men and women in expensive suits, all of them owing their positions to the previous CEO, and by extension, to the mysterious trust that held the majority shares. None of them had ever met the actual owner. He'd always remained anonymous, represented only by Chairman Thornton. Perfect for Ariana's purposes. Good morning, everyone. She stood at the head of the table, projecting confidence. Thank you for making time on short notice. What we're discussing today will shape the future of this company. Richard Thornton sat at the far end, his expression unreadable. We're listening. Ariana. She clicked her first slide. Apex Industries is at a crossroads. We can continue with outdated structures and advisory councils that drain resources, or we can streamline for maximum efficiency and growth. Murmurs around the table. She'd piqued their interest. I'm proposing a complete restructuring. We eliminate 3 departments that have become redundant. She clicked through slides showing budget allocations, performance metrics, all carefully manipulated to support her narrative. This includes the External Advisory Council, the Strategic Futures Group, and the Innovation Think Tank. Those are all recently created departments. One board member noted, less than 5 years old. Exactly. Created without proper cost-benefit analysis. They employ 18 people full-time and cost us $6 million annually. For what? Quarterly reports that sit unread? Ariana's voice gained strength. We can reallocate those resources to expansion. Real expansion. I'm talking about international markets, strategic acquisitions, and partnerships that will double our revenue in 3 years. She could see she had them. They were leaning forward, nodding. Money talked, growth talked. Nostalgia for advisory councils nobody cared about? That could be cut. Additionally, she continued, I'm recommending we review all current advisory positions and board memberships. Some of these roles were granted as favors or legacy arrangements. It's time we have a board composed entirely of active, value-adding members. Richard Thornton's expression finally changed. Just slightly. A tightening around his eyes. Are you proposing we remove current board members? I'm proposing we ensure every seat at this table is filled by someone with relevant expertise and active engagement. She clicked a slide with names. Several current advisory members have contributed exactly 0 insights in the past year. They're collecting stipends for doing nothing. One of those names was Darius Cole. I see your husband is on this list, another board member pointed out. Ariana's smile didn't waver. All the more reason to remove the conflict of interest. Darius was granted his position as a courtesy. He has no corporate experience, no relevant expertise, and has attended exactly 1 meeting in 3 years. He's a drain on resources. He needs to go. That's rather harsh, someone murmured. That's business. Ariana pulled up her financial projections. With these restructurings in place, we save $8 million annually and free up bandwidth for real strategic work. I need your approval to move forward. The board members looked at each other. A few glanced at Richard, who sat silent and still. This is aggressive, one woman said. Perhaps we should table this and review the data more carefully. We don't have time to table it. Ariana's voice sharpened. Our competitors are moving fast. Titanium Corp just announced a major acquisition in the Asian market. If we don't act now, we'll be left behind. Richard Thornton finally spoke. You seem very concerned with Titanium Corp, Ariana. Any particular reason? The question landed like ice. Ariana felt her pulse quicken but kept her expression neutral. They're our primary competitor. Of course I'm concerned. Of course. Richard checked his watch. Before we vote on your proposal, I think we should wait for one more person. Ariana frowned. Who? Everyone's here. Not everyone. Richard stood. We're missing the majority shareholder. The room fell silent. The mysterious owner. The phantom who'd never attended a meeting. The legend. He's coming today? Someone whispered. She's coming? Another asked. He. Richard corrected. And yes. In fact, he should be. The boardroom doors opened. Ariana turned, expecting some elderly titan of industry, some silver-haired magnate in an Italian suit, someone worthy of the myth. Instead, Darius walked in. He wore a simple, dark suit. His hair was slightly damp from the rain. He carried a leather portfolio under his arm. He looked exactly like himself. Calm, quiet, unassuming Darius. Sorry I'm late, he said to Richard. Traffic. Ariana laughed. Actually laughed. Darius? What are you doing here? This is a closed board meeting. He met her eyes. For the first time in weeks, he really looked at her, and what she saw there made her stomach drop. I'm here for the vote, he said quietly. You don't have a vote. You're advisory council, and I'm about to eliminate your position. She turned to Richard. Can someone escort him out? Actually, Richard said, and his voice carried the weight of thunder. Darius Cole has every right to be here. In fact, as principal owner of 82% of Apex Industries, he has more right than anyone else in this room. The silence was absolute. Ariana stared. The board members stared. Someone's pen fell and clattered against the table. That's not possible, Ariana whispered. Richard pulled out a document and slid it across the table toward her. Ownership Charter, verified by Morrison and Bach LLP. Darius Cole inherited controlling interest in this company 7 years ago, from his father, Marcus Cole, the founder. It's all quite legal and documented. Ariana grabbed the document with shaking hands. Her eyes scanned the words, but they wouldn't make sense. 82%. Principal owner. Darius Cole. She looked up at her husband. Her soon-to-be ex-husband. The man she'd called deadweight, pathetic, ordinary. You. She couldn't finish the sentence. I own the company, Darius said simply. He pulled out the chair at the head of the table, her chair, and sat down. And I'd like to hear more about this restructuring plan, particularly the part where you eliminate me. Subscribe to see how Darius flips the game. Ariana couldn't breathe. The boardroom walls seemed to close in around her. Every pair of eyes watched her as she stood frozen at the front of the room. Her presentation materials scattered across the table like a bad joke. This is... She struggled for words. This is some kind of mistake. No mistake, Richard Thornton said. He was still standing, arms crossed, watching her with something like pity. I've been chairman of this board for 12 years, serving as executor for the Cole Family Trust. Darius has been the silent majority owner the entire time. But you never said anything. Ariana looked at Darius, her voice rising. In 8 years, you never mentioned that you owned a billion-dollar company? You never asked about my family. Darius spoke quietly, but his words carried across the room. You knew my father died before we met. You knew he was in business, but you never wanted to know the details. You said talking about dead parents was depressing. She had said that, on their third date, when he'd mentioned his father's passing. She changed the subject quickly, not wanting the mood to turn heavy. That's not the same as hiding ownership of Apex Industries, her voice cracked. I didn't hide it, I just didn't broadcast it. Darius opened his portfolio. When we met, I made a choice. I wanted someone who loved me for who I was, not what I inherited. I thought you were that person. I did love you for who you were. Even as she said it, she knew how hollow it sounded. Did you? Darius pulled out a document. Because the woman I married wouldn't have filed for divorce 3 weeks after becoming CEO. The woman I married wouldn't have demanded I move out of our home. And the woman I married definitely wouldn't have called me pathetic, dead weight, and ordinary. Ariana's blood ran cold. How did you... Coffee shop. Last Saturday, Monica, wasn't it? Darius looked at her steadily. You were pretty loud for a secret conversation. She hadn't seen him there. She'd been so confident, so careless. Her mind raced back through everything she'd said. 3 million in assets. Stock options. Cutting dead weight. Oh God. One of the board members cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps we should have this discussion in private. No, Darius said firmly. Ariana called this meeting. She wanted to restructure the company and eliminate my position. I think we should hear her out. He gestured to her presentation still displayed on the screen. Please, continue. Tell the board why the External Advisory Council should be eliminated. Darius. That's what you're here to do, isn't it? Make your case? His voice never rose, but there was steel underneath. Tell them how I've contributed zero value, how I'm a drain on resources, how I have no relevant expertise. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He leaned forward. Because 18 hours ago, you told me I'd never made real money. That I'd never made a name for myself. That I worked on little tech projects, while you climbed to the top. He paused. Is that still your position? Ariana looked around the table. Every board member was watching her with expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed hostility. These were people who'd worked with the Cole family for decades, people who'd known Darius's father, people who'd been loyal to the family trust, and she'd just insulted the heir to the throne. I didn't know, she said weakly. How was I supposed to know? You weren't supposed to know. Darius's voice was gentle now, which somehow made it worse. That was the point. I wanted a partner, Ariana. Someone who'd build a life with me because they wanted to. Not because I could offer them corporate power. I built my career on my own merit. She snapped, some of her fire returning. I worked my way up from junior analyst to CEO. That had nothing to do with you. You're right. You earned that position fair and square. Darius nodded. Which is why what happened next is so disappointing. He pulled out another document. This one. He slid to Richard, who glanced at it and frowned deeply. What is that? Ariana demanded. Phone records, Richard said. Between your personal cell and Marcus Webb at Titanium Corporation. 17 calls in 4 weeks. The room erupted in murmurs. Titanium Corp was their primary competitor. Any contact between a CEO and rival company executives was suspicious at best. Corporate espionage at worst. I can explain. Please do, Darius said. Because some of these calls were over an hour long, and they all occurred after business hours, and you never disclosed them to the board as required by your employment contract. Ariana's throat was dry. He called me. He was trying to recruit me. I was gathering intelligence, Richard repeated. Is that why you discussed our Q3 projections with him? Our expansion plans for the Asian market? I never. She stopped. They had her emails too. They had to. How much do you know? Everything. Darius stood. He was only average height. But somehow, he seemed to fill the room. I know about the restructuring plan that would eliminate every department connected to my father's vision. I know about the divorce calculated to extract maximum assets from our marriage. I know about the late-night calls where you described me as too comfortable and too trusting. He walked toward her slowly, and she found herself backing away. I know you told Monica you'd be free by next month, that you'd liquidate stock options worth $15 million, that you'd cut out all the dead weight. He stopped directly in front of her. I even know about your plan to eliminate my advisory position today, removing the last connection I had to this company. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Ariana? His voice finally rose, and the pain underneath was raw and real. Tell me. Make me understand how the woman I loved became someone I don't even recognize. She couldn't answer. Because she didn't have an answer, or rather, the answer was too ugly to say out loud. She'd wanted more. She'd gotten a taste of real power, real money, real status. And Darius, kind, patient, supportive, Darius had seemed small by comparison. She'd convinced herself she'd outgrown him, but really, she'd just grown cruel. I think, Richard said into the silence, we should take a recess. Give everyone time to process this information. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. The board members filed out in shocked silence. Some looked at Ariana with disgust. Others just looked uncomfortable, eager to escape the emotional battlefield the boardroom had become. Soon, it was just Darius, Ariana, and Richard left. I can't believe you, Ariana whispered. This is humiliation. Public humiliation. How does it feel? She had no response to that. I'm going to step out, Richard said quietly. Give you two a moment. But Ariana, when we reconvene, you should be prepared for some difficult decisions. He left. The door clicked shut. Ariana and Darius stood in the massive boardroom, separated by 10 feet that felt like a canyon. You're going to fire me, she said. It wasn't a question. I don't know yet. He looked tired. Part of me wants to. Part of me can't believe this is happening at all. Darius, did you ever love me? He asked suddenly. Really love me? Or was I just useful? She wanted to say yes. She wanted to tell him that she'd loved him desperately, that something had broken inside her, that she could fix this, but she'd never been good at lying. Not really. Her silence was answer enough. Darius nodded slowly, and something shuddered behind his eyes. When we reconvene, I'm going to present evidence of your communications with Marcus Webb. The board will vote on your status as CEO. I suspect it won't go well for you. You're destroying me. No, he said softly. I'm just no longer protecting you from the consequences of your choices. He walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Ariana, I really did love you. I would have given you everything. All you had to do was stay. The door closed behind him, and she was alone. When the board reconvened, the atmosphere had shifted from shocked to coldly professional. These were business people. They'd processed the personal drama and moved on to what mattered: protecting the company. Darius sat at the head of the table now. His seat, his company, his rules. Ariana took a chair along the side. No longer at the presentation podium. The reversal of position was deliberate and devastating. She felt like a defendant awaiting sentencing. Before we address the restructuring proposal, Darius began, there are some matters that require immediate board attention. Richard, can you distribute the evidence packages? Richard handed folders to each board member. Ariana watched their faces as they opened them. Shock, anger, disgust. One woman actually gasped. What you're seeing, Darius explained, is a pattern of communication between CEO Ariana Cole and Marcus Webb, Chief Operating Officer of Titanium Corporation. These communications began 4 days after Ariana's appointment as CEO and have continued through last Friday. He clicked a remote. The screen behind him displayed an email. From a.cole@apexindustries.com to m.webb@titaniumcorp.com. Subject: Quarterly projections. Marcus. Attached are the Q3 numbers you requested. As you can see, our Asian expansion is on track, but vulnerable. The infrastructure costs are higher than anticipated. This creates an opportunity if you move fast. This email, Darius continued, was sent from Ariana's corporate account on September 14th. It contains confidential financial projections and strategic analysis. The recipient is our primary competitor. That's taken out of context. Ariana stood. There are 43 more emails, Darius interrupted quietly. Would you like me to go through them all? She sat down. He clicked through several more. Each one was more damning than the last. Internal memos forwarded to Webb. Details about product development timelines. Information about key client contracts up for renewal. The most concerning communication, Richard said, taking over, is this phone call from October 3rd. We had our IT security team pull the transcript from her corporate phone records. As he put up another slide. A phone transcript. Duration: 1 hour, 17 minutes. Webb. So, when can we move forward with the arrangement? Ariana. After the restructuring goes through. Once I consolidate power and remove the legacy positions. I'll have full control. Then we can discuss terms. Webb. And you're certain you can deliver the client list? Ariana. The Fortune 500 contracts? Absolutely. Once I'm untouchable on the board, I can transition them gradually. Make it look like natural market movement. Webb. You understand the compensation we discussed: 8 figures, stock options, and a VP position only happens if you deliver. Ariana. I'll deliver. Trust me. By December, Apex will be bleeding clients and you'll be signing them. Then you bring me on board, and I'll help you crush what's left of this company. The silence in the room was deafening. Ariana felt the blood drain from her face. She'd forgotten about that call. In the rush of planning the divorce, of becoming CEO, of imagining her new life, she'd forgotten they monitored corporate phones. This isn't. Her voice cracked. This isn't what it sounds like. Really? One of the board members, a stern woman named Patricia, leaned forward. Because it sounds like you were planning to commit corporate espionage, steal our client base, and destroy this company from within. I was negotiating. Creating leverage. Ariana's desperation showed. I wasn't actually going to. You discussed 8-figure compensation for delivering our Fortune 500 client list to our competitor, Darius said. His voice was steady, but she could hear the hurt underneath. You planned to make us bleed. Your words. I was protecting myself. You don't understand the pressure of this job. She looked around the table wildly. I built this company up. I increased revenue 23% in my first quarter alone. Using strategies my father developed, Darius said quietly. Executing plans that were already in motion. You were a good operator, Ariana. But you weren't irreplaceable, and you certainly weren't loyal. How dare you question my loyalty? I gave everything to this company. Did you? Patricia asked coldly. Because the evidence suggests you were preparing to give everything to Titanium Corp instead. Ariana looked at each board member in turn. No sympathy, no support. She'd burned every bridge in her ambition to rise higher, faster, alone. We need to vote, Richard said, on the immediate removal of Ariana Cole as Chief Executive Officer of Apex Industries, effective immediately, for gross misconduct, breach of fiduciary duty, and corporate espionage. You can't do this. Ariana shouted. I have a contract. I have rights. Your contract, Darius said, has a termination clause for ethical violations. Corporate espionage qualifies. You'll receive no severance, no stock options, no benefits. Just the legal bills when our lawyers file charges. You'll regret this, she hissed. All of you. I'll sue. I'll go to the media. You'll do nothing, Darius interrupted. His voice was quiet but absolute. Because if you make any noise whatsoever, we'll turn this evidence over to federal prosecutors. Corporate espionage is a federal crime, Ariana. You could face prison time. She fell silent. The threat was real, and she knew it. All in favor of immediate termination? Richard asked. Every hand went up, including Darius's. Motion passes unanimously. Richard made a note. Security will escort you from the building. You have 15 minutes to collect personal items from your office under supervision. All corporate devices, documents, and materials remain property of Apex Industries. 2 security guards appeared at the door as if summoned. They probably had been, Ariana realized. This had been planned, every step choreographed. She stood on shaking legs. Her entire world was collapsing. CEO. 2 unemployed in an hour. Marriage ended. Reputation destroyed. Future gone. She looked at Darius, one last time. I could have made you so much money. I already have money. He met her eyes. I wanted a partner. You wanted a trophy. There's the difference. The guards moved to either side of her. Not touching, but close. A clear message. As they escorted her toward the door, she heard Darius say something that stopped her cold. I'm not here to punish you, Ariana. I'm here to free myself. It was almost kind, almost gentle. But it was also final. The door closed behind her, and she walked through the office where just hours ago everyone had called her CEO. Now they averted their eyes, whispered behind their hands, watched her fall with the mixture of pity and satisfaction people always feel when the mighty are brought low. Her office had already been cleared, her nameplate removed from the door, a box with her personal items, a few photos, some books, the award she'd received last month for leadership excellence, sat waiting on the empty desk. 5 minutes, the guard said. She picked up the box. It was pathetically light. 5 years of work, reduced to 15 pounds of personal items. As she walked through the lobby, past the massive Apex Industries sign in brushed steel, she saw Marcus Webb's number flash on her personal phone. She declined the call. Whatever deal they'd discussed was dead now. Marcus would never hire someone fired for corporate espionage. She'd become toxic overnight. The rain had stopped, but the city looked gray and cold. She stood on the sidewalk with her cardboard box. No longer CEO, no longer married, no longer anything. Just Ariana. Alone. If this twist shocked you, hit the like button. The board meeting continued for another 2 hours after Ariana's removal. There were procedures to follow, documents to sign, announcements to prepare. Darius sat through it all, with the patience he'd learned from his father. Darius, the position is yours by right. I appreciate that, but no. He'd been expecting this. I'm not suited for daily operations. I'd like to nominate Richard as interim CEO while we conduct a proper search. Richard looked surprised. Are you certain? This is your company. It was my father's company. I'm just the steward. Darius glanced at the empty chair where Ariana had sat hours ago. My father believed in building something that could outlast him. That means putting the right people in the right positions, not claiming power for ego's sake. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. I second the nomination, another board member said quickly. Within minutes, it was done. Richard Thornton, interim CEO. What about Ariana's restructuring proposal? Someone asked. There were some good ideas buried in the politics. Table it for now, Darius decided. We'll review departmental efficiency in Q1, but nothing gets eliminated without proper analysis. The advisory councils stay. The innovation groups stay. We build up, not tear down. Nods around the table. This was leadership steady, thoughtful, focused on long-term health rather than short-term cuts. As the meeting finally ended and board members filed out, several stopped to shake Darius's hand. Your father would be proud, Patricia said. The way you handled that calm, fair, but firm. That's Cole family leadership. After they'd all gone, Richard remained. Are you all right? I don't know. Darius looked out the window at the city. I just destroyed my wife's career and had her escorted out by security. I feel like I should feel worse about it. She tried to destroy your company. And your life. I know. But I still remember the woman I married. Before the ambition ate her alive. He turned back to Richard. We bring out the best in each other or the worst. She and I. We brought out the worst. Don't blame yourself for her choices. I'm not. But I could have been more present. Less passive. Maybe if I'd told her about my family's business earlier, she would have married you for the money instead of love, Richard said bluntly. And you'd be in the same place, just with less clarity about her character. Probably true. Darius pulled out his phone. 17 missed calls from Ariana. 23 text messages ranging from apologetic to furious to desperate. He blocked the number. What about the divorce? Richard asked. My lawyer is handling it. Given her termination for cause and the evidence of her planned corporate theft, she'll get nothing from the marital estate. The house stays mine. The retirement accounts stay mine. She gets whatever she brought into the marriage, which was essentially her car and some furniture. From $3 million to nothing. She gambled everything on cards she didn't know I was holding. Darius pocketed his phone. I loved her, Richard, right up until the moment she served those papers and told me I was dead weight. That's when I realized the woman I loved was already gone. What will you do now? Good question. Darius looked around the boardroom, his boardroom, in the company his father had built from nothing. He'd spent 7 years avoiding this place, trying to live a simple life. But maybe simplicity had been a mistake. Maybe his father had left him this legacy for a reason. I'm going to learn the business, he said. Really learn it. Not as the invisible owner, but as an active participant. I want to understand what my father built. Honor it properly. He'd like that. That evening, Darius returned to his house, the house Ariana had demanded he leave. It felt different now, empty. But in a peaceful way, room to breathe. He made dinner. Just pasta, with olive oil and garlic, eaten at the kitchen table while reading through Apex Industries' financial reports. Not exciting, but his phone buzzed. A blocked number. He almost declined, then answered, Darius. Ariana's voice was thick with crying. Please, can we talk? I don't think that's a good idea. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I see that now. She was sobbing. I lost everything. My job, my reputation, you, everything. He felt a stab of pity, but pity wasn't love, and sympathy wasn't trust. You lost those things because you tried to take them from me first, he said gently. I'm sorry you're hurting, but this is the consequence of your choices. I can change. Give me another chance. No. The word hung in the air. I deserved that, she whispered. You did. But Ariana, this isn't about punishment. It's about protection. I can't trust you. Without trust, there's nothing to build on. I love you. Maybe you do. But you love ambition more. You love power more. You love the idea of success more. He looked around his quiet kitchen. I wanted a partner. You wanted an empire. Those aren't compatible goals. So this is it? Just over? It was over the moment you filed those papers. This is just making it official. He paused. My lawyer will send you a settlement offer tomorrow. It's fair, more than fair, actually. I'm not trying to leave you destitute, but the house, the retirement accounts, and any claim on Apex Industries are off the table. You won the company you already owned. Congratulations. Bitterness crept into her voice. I didn't want to win, Ariana. I wanted us to build something together. His voice softened. But you saw me as an obstacle instead of a partner. You lost me the moment you saw me as a burden. She was crying again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I believe you, but sorry doesn't fix this. He stood, carrying his plate to the sink. Goodbye, Ariana. I hope you find what you're looking for, just not at someone else's expense next time. He ended the call. Blocked that number too. Outside, the rain had started again. Darius watched it streak down the windows, each drop following gravity's path. Predictable, natural, inevitable. Like the end of his marriage had been inevitable from the moment Ariana chose ambition over love. He cleaned his dishes, made tea, sat on the couch with his father's old journal, leather-bound, filled with notes about business, philosophy, and life lessons. He'd never read it before, always too painful after his father's death. But tonight felt like the right time. Success is worthless if it costs you your character, asterisk his father had written on page 1. Asterisk, build something that makes you proud to look in the mirror. Not just proud to look at your bank balance. Darius smiled. His father would have understood everything that had happened, would have supported his choices, would have reminded him that integrity matters more than victory. He'd lost his marriage, but he'd kept his soul. That felt like the right trade. 3 months later, winter had settled over the city. Darius stood in the same boardroom where he'd confronted Ariana. But now, it felt like his space. Comfortable, earned. The board meeting was routine Q4 results, budget approvals, strategic planning. Richard was doing excellent work as CEO. The company was stable, growing, even. Morale had improved dramatically after Ariana's departure. One last item, Patricia said. The CEO search. We've interviewed 8 candidates. All excellent. But I think we need to discuss the internal option again. We've talked about this, Darius said. I'm not interested in being CEO. What about Chief Strategy Officer? Richard suggested. You've been attending every meeting for 3 months. You know the business inside and out now. Your insights are valuable. Make it official, Darius considered. It wasn't CEO, he still didn't want that responsibility. But Chief Strategy Officer? Shaping long-term vision while others handled daily operations? I'll think about it, he conceded. After the meeting, his phone buzzed. His lawyer? It's done, Morrison said. Divorce finalized. She signed the settlement agreement this morning. How much did she end up with? $50,000. Essentially, what she'd saved independently before the marriage. Plus, her car and personal items. She contested initially, but without grounds. The prenup you signed at her insistence ironically protected most of your assets. Darius had forgotten about the prenup. Ariana had insisted on it early in their marriage, saying it was just practical. She'd never imagined she'd be on the losing end. "How is she doing?" he asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "Working as a consultant. Freelance. She lost her corporate network after the Titanium Corp scandal broke publicly. No one wants to hire someone who committed espionage against her own company." Morrison paused. "I heard she's living with her sister in a one-bedroom apartment. From CEO to couch surfing in 3 months." Darius felt a pang of something. Not quite sympathy. Maybe just sadness for the waste of it all. "She reached out to me," Morrison continued. "Asked if there was any chance of reconciliation." "What did you tell her?" "That my client had moved on, as should she." "Thank you, James." After ending the call, Darius went to his father's old office, now his office. It had taken him 2 months to feel comfortable sitting at that massive oak desk, but now he felt his father's presence in a comforting way. On the wall hung a new photo. His father at the company's 10th anniversary, surrounded by employees. The caption read, "Success is measured by the people you lift, not the people you climb over." That had been Marcus Cole's philosophy. Build people up. Create opportunities. Leave things better than you found them. Ariana had tried to do the opposite. Tear down, eliminate, extract maximum value for herself alone. And in the end, she'd eliminated herself. His phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "I saw the company's Q4 results. You're doing well. Dad would be proud, Ariana." He stared at it. Part of him wanted to respond, to check on her, to make sure she was okay. But that wasn't his responsibility anymore. He deleted the message. That evening, Darius had dinner with his mother, the first real conversation they'd had since his father's death 7 years ago. She'd been traveling, finding herself, healing in her own way. Now she was back. "I heard what happened with Ariana," his mother said over pasta at a small Italian restaurant. "I'm sorry, sweetheart." "I'm not anymore." He sipped his wine. "I thought I wanted a quiet life, a normal marriage, but I was just hiding from Dad's legacy because I didn't think I could live up to it. And now I understand what he was trying to teach me. The company isn't about money or power. It's about responsibility, about using resources to create something meaningful." He smiled. "I'm finally ready to learn that lesson." His mother squeezed his hand. "He always knew you'd find your way. He just wanted you to choose it, not feel obligated to it. I'm choosing it now." 6 months after the divorce, Darius attended a charity gala. Apex Industries was a major sponsor. As chief strategy officer, he was expected to make an appearance. He was talking with a nonprofit director about education initiatives when he saw her across the room. Ariana. She was thinner, dressed well but not in designer clothes anymore. She was with someone, a man he didn't recognize. She looked smaller somehow. The commanding presence she'd had as CEO was gone. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom. For a moment, neither moved. Then she gave him a small nod. Acknowledgement. Maybe even respect. He nodded back, and then turned away. Not with anger, not with triumph. Just with the quiet certainty that this chapter was closed. Later that night, standing on his balcony overlooking the city, Darius thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the confrontation, the divorce, the rebuilding. He'd learned something important. Love isn't about what someone can give you. It's about who they become when they finally have everything they wanted. Ariana had gotten everything: CEO position, power, opportunity. And she'd become someone who saw the people she loved as obstacles. That revealed her character more than any struggle ever could. His phone buzzed. Richard, sending him a photo from the office. The new company motto being installed on the lobby wall. "Build something greater than yourself." His father's words. Now his company's mission. Darius smiled. He was finally home. Pride can destroy the very blessings you prayed for. Ariana climbed to the top of a mountain she didn't know her husband owned. And in her ambition to rise even higher, she lost everything, including herself. Success without integrity is just another form of failure. And sometimes the person you thought was holding you back was actually holding you together. Have you ever loved someone who changed after success? Share your lessons in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.